I was able to pay down $43,000 worth of debt in just 13 months, and not because of any debt payment strategy that I had specifically, but it's because of my overall money management system. More specifically, experimenting with these five budgeting strategies over the last decade as a corporate accountant in my own personal finances until I found the one that I wanted to use forever. So, in this video, I'll be ranking the five budgeting strategies from my least favorite all the way down to my favorite, which is the one that I'm currently using today. And the whole goal is to help you find the pitfalls and make this process just as seamless as possible so you can just be efficient with it. So, with that said, let's jump right into the first one, which is cash only budgeting. Now, before I get into this, I do want to say that just because this is ranked as my least favorite, does not mean that I don't recommend it. All of these I would actually recommend to anyone. It's just a matter of preference. There's a lot of variations between them. So I just wanted to set that straight in the beginning. So cash only budgeting, I think, is great for someone who's just maybe starting with the whole tracking their finances thing. It's great for someone who knows that they overspend in their weeks and their months, and they are trying to find something new, or it's just someone that's just maybe curious like I was throughout my process, and I just wanted to keep trying new budgeting processes until I found the one that would work for me. So yes, I did cash only budgeting earlier in the journey. And as you can imagine, the goal of this is just to avoid the plastic, right? Avoid the credit card. And yes, even the debit card. Okay. Because there's a lot of stats out there that paying with a card, you're more likely to spend money. And I'm going to dive into some of that in a second just to show you. But if you think about it psychologically, like you have money in your wallet, you have cash in your wallet or your purse, are you more likely to take that money out and pay for something, or is it just easier to take the card out? Right. So if you think about it like that, it's way easier. So the whole kind of premise around cash only budgeting is you would try to figure out this is for like your regular weekly and monthly expenses. Okay. So we're not talking like you have to give your landlord cash now instead of a check or a Venmo or however you pay them, right? Or your mortgage. Like you're not driving to the office with cash, right? So it's stuff that you're like, so like think like groceries, gas, anything that you spend on a regular basis. That's what we're trying to use with this cash only budgeting. And yeah, let's just jump into some of the stats here because I think it's gonna really open your eyes a little bit. I'm just gonna share my screen. Percent, so over half, reported that they are likely to make an impulse purchase when using a credit card versus 24% for cash. So if you look at that, it's people are twice as likely to make an impulse purchase when they're this says holding a credit card. Okay. That's pretty crazy. And 58%, so 6 out of 10, said that credit cards as as the majority as the primary payment method would most likely entice them to spend more money, which was more than double for cash and more than 8 times that of digital wallets. Okay, so that little variation there, but I think this is very intriguing. It just shows again, it's like 2x. We'll forget about digital wallets, but 2x from credit cards to cash. So it's just something to think about where maybe holding cash, going through your budgets, taking out what you need maybe every week. That's probably a good way to do this one. And that's what you have to live on for the week. Again, we're not talking the big expenses like utilities or your rent, mortgage, whatever. It's your groceries, it's your gas, and it is a little more challenging, right? It's a little more harder, a little more harder. It's a little harder. But let's just go to another stat here because we kind of need to know now how much credit card debt people are holding. So this basically shows us year to date through 2021, 2022, 2023 through Q3. So like the first 9 months of the last 3 years, how much credit card debt specifically is being held in the US. And this was from CNBC. It has it by generations here. So Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, and the silent generation. As you can see, you can look at all of these. They all increase every single year. So the biggest ones were Millennials, I think it said 15%, and Gen Zs were 14%. So you can see like Gen Z in the last 2 years, the average went up by $1,000. Millennials went up by $2,000. Gen X went up by $2,100. Baby boomers, $800 from 2021 to 2020. So what I'm basically saying here is that you're two times more likely to use a card to spend with a card than with cash, and that just is reflective in the data that it's just way easier to buy things now and way more convenient. Like all your cards are probably stored online or in apps, and it's just so easy to make purchases. So if you're already connected to stuff with cards, the way you can do um, this cash budgeting is to kind of add a little more friction. So remove your cards from like Amazon, right? Remove your cards, just make it really as tough for you as possible, and try to make those purchases that you make like at Amazon in like a Walmart or your grocery store where you have a little more control and you can pay with cash. And now you're taking a couple $100 with you for the week, whatever your number is, right? And you're just divvying it up and you're divvying up your life during the week. That's one way to think about it. But for those of you saying like, "Oh, why are debit cards such a problem?" Well, the average purchase here, it says made with a debit or credit card is $112, which is the average, while the average cash purchase is $22. So again, if you think about it, it's way harder. Like if I have cash in my wallet, I am less likely to like hand it over, right? It's so much easier just like, oh yeah, I got it with my card. You take it, because the problem is with the card, you're like, oh, you just defer it. You kick the can down the road, right? And I'm gonna stop sharing. And it's just way easier to think about it later. It's tomorrow's problem, right? Um, a- and I think this is just it's a bad message for people, and it's just I don't want you to come up. I'm not an anti credit card person. Just to be very clear, I use credit cards, but there is a time and a place for credit cards, just like everything else. And just like everything else, it's not meant for everyone. So you have to kind of be self aware of, maybe I'm not good at this credit card thing. And if you have a ton of credit card debt, then you're definitely not good at the credit card thing. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and be Dave Ramsey and pretend like credit cards are the devil, because I don't necessarily agree with that, but I also don't agree with, using credit cards to 100% maximum leverage. So there is a middle point, I think, and it's just about finding your middle point. And it maybe takes trial and error, but this cash only budgeting just adds a little more friction to your spending. Okay, so like I mentioned, think about it like this. So when I used to do it, I would go on Sunday to the ATM. I would take out what I thought I needed for cash for the week based on like literally what I needed, not like, hey, let me just take out $1,000, and if I spend it, I spend it. If I don't, I don't. It's literally like you've been tracking your finances for a bit, maybe, and you're like, oh, okay, I need this much for groceries. You know what? I don't think I need gas this week. I'd probably be able to wait till next week. And oh, I needed to get, I don't know, toilet paper, right? Whatever your list is of stuff, and you just try to hold that much money. Now, the problem with it, and why I stopped doing it, and why this is my least favorite, is it's a logistical nightmare. Like every week, it's exhausting to like go every week to the ATM, get cash out, and then hold that cash in your wallet all week. Obviously, it's like, if you lose the cash, you have a couple $100 in there, you lose the cash, it's gone. If you lose a card, you just like hit a button on your app, right? And be like, oh, hey, company, just stop, don't accept any charges on my card now. Send me a new one. It's so much, it's easier, like security wise. So logistics are tough, and it's just a little more intense, this one. So I did say it's good for beginners, and I do think so, but you have to kind of be in the right mindset, because I could see, you falling off of doing this. You do have to kind of do it for a while to get used to it, and it could be really stressful on like Friday or Saturday when you're like, oh wow, I have $20, and you don't feel like you have enough money to last you the rest of the week. That's kind of the point, but it is intense. So it the right kind of person needs to be doing this. Um, So that was number one. Let me know what you guys think about that. Have you guys tried this? Let me know in the comments. Smash the like button. Let me know in some way. I'd love to hear your feedback. Before we get into number two, I do want to show you guys that I've actually created a free course and community for people that are looking to find money in their finances for free. There's a lot of budgeting strategy in here, and the whole point is to find extra money in your current finances without a second job, without a side hustle, without any weird eBay stuff, right? So that you can apply it to debt. So if you have debt, this is the perfect course and community for you. So the link's down in the description. It's school.com/debt. Okay. You have access to me in here. You have a free one-on-one call if you join right now. So if you join, I'm going to hop on a call with you. We're going to talk about your situation. We're going to get a game plan. There's free tracking tools in here. So if you go to that school.com/debt, you can click on this link before even joining the community if you just want to test them out and see if you think they're worth playing around with. We're going to come up with a personalized plan for your finances. You'll find a proven method to find $100 or more. I say $100, but some people are finding more. Like this person here who wanted to be unnamed. She, after working with me for 3 months, she was able to pay off $7,000 of her credit card debt. I don't know if you can see that. Let me bump it up for you. This is just a little testimonial. She found $7,000 to pay off her debt. So she's 7K down in her debt, just from the stuff that I'm showing in this community. So if that interests you, let me know too. But yeah, so the proven strategies to pay down your debt faster and a motivated community to help keep you accountable. Now, you'll see here there's 8 members in here, which it's literally the best time to join because you will have so much of my personal attention because this is my main focus right now. Yes, I am doing live streams once a week, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, but this is my main focus. I just want to keep getting people wins. It's completely free, by the way, if I haven't mentioned that. And if you're interested, again, link down in the description. I don't want to drag on about it because I understand that it's not that interesting to hear me talk about it. So if you're interested, it's down there. So the next one I want to talk to you about is something called bi-weekly budgeting. And this isn't a strategy that I see that frequently online. I'm not going to say I like made it up. I don't think so, but I don't think it's that popular. It's something that my wife and I have been doing for a while actually, and we found it very, very impactful. So basically what this means is, you know what, let me just pull up the calendar and I'll show you because I think the visual aid will help. Can you guys see that okay? Yes. What does this do? Perfect. All right. That's better. So this is a calendar of December. This is when I'm recording this video in December. Hope everyone had a great holiday season and a good new year, by the way, if you're watching this live or, soon after in the replay. How I like to think about this is, so my wife and we both have 9 to 5 jobs. Okay. And we both get paid at the beginning of every month and we both get paid at the middle of every month. So we thought, okay, how can we structure it so we get uh, 24 wins every single year, right? So 2 pay periods times 12 months. How can we win every time we get paid? So our thinking is most people's most expensive thing in their life is the roof over their head, right? So a mortgage or rent, right? And ours happened to come out in the beginning of the month, which is great. So what happens is our mortgage comes out and we get paid. So it's a net win actually. So our combined checks cover our mortgage. Great. And what we do after that is this is just basically like organizing our finances. Okay. Everything else that we could possibly think of is either auto comes out around the middle of the month around our next paycheck or um, it's on a credit card. Okay. This is why I'm saying I'm not anti credit card because I use them and I use them for organization, to be quite honest with you. So if you look at this calendar, the only things that we pay are the mortgage. It comes out the beginning of the month. We have all our credit card stuff. So this is all of our regular expenses, right? So groceries, gas. We have 2 kids, so stuff like that. We have auto investing on, so like our financial goals are automated. Sorry, I'm coming off of a little illness. If you have kids, you know all about the daycare germs. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then I think we have one or two other expenses that we were able to schedule out of our bank account, but not through a credit card. Okay, and then we have one utility that I think comes out like the 12th of every month. So it's not 100% perfect, but essentially the idea is get a win here. So our paychecks are larger than our mortgage, right? So awesome, we get a win. And then all of our expenses are still less than our paychecks here. So the rest of our life is covered by our next paychecks, which is great. And then I just put this down here, but basically at the end of the month, you can see we're already, doing financial goals in this period. Whatever the goal is, we're automating it. And then at the end of the month, it's like, okay, how do we, what else can we optimize? We have, say, a few $100s this month, or maybe it's a little tighter. We broke even, but maybe this month we have $1,000, whatever the amount is. And then we push that towards a financial goal because the more you can put towards the primary financial goal that you have, the faster you're going to be able to pull your future towards yourself. Because if you're just sitting there, doing the paycheck to paycheck thing and you're never getting ahead, you're not able to pull your future closer to you. So that's what we're trying to do with this. Um, the one we love doing this. The reason why it's my second least favorite. Um, I don't think this is a good like starting point. It's a little intense. So if you've never budgeted before, I would stick with the 1 month and just trying to get the win with the 1 month, right? So try to have your income, be larger than your expenses in the first month. Because this is basically we're budgeting for, 15 days. Because essentially, again, our mortgage is the only thing that comes out in the first 15 days, aside from this small utility, and then everything else just comes out here. And then if we have extra money, we allocate it towards the financial goal that's most important to us. Um, so it's just something to think about. And I don't know if you've ever thought about this or tried this, but I'd love to hear. Let me know down below. I'm going to jump over to the next one, so I'll stop sharing here. Cool. The next one I wanted to talk about is the 50-30-20 rule. Okay. So basically, what this is the 50-30-20 is a percentage allocation of what your income is. So if you make, your income is 100% of your income, right? The 50-30-20 rule states that 50% of your income should go towards need items. Okay. 30% should go towards want items, and 20% should go towards financial goals, which is great. That's the one that we love focusing on the most, right? The challenge with this is one, a lot of people are not honest. What I mean by that is a lot of people confuse need items and want items. So you have to be really, really honest with yourself. Um, a dumb example would be like, oh, I need my Starbucks coffee. Oh, I need these designer socks, right? So you have to be really honest with yourself. Designer socks, does that even exist? I don't know. Um, and another challenge with this, so this is just like an overall framework. You don't have to be like exactly at these percentages, but if you've never done this before, this could actually be a great starting point to think about. So if you make, what would make the math really easy here? If you make $5,000 a month, so 50% of that, $2,500 should be going towards your need items. So your housing, utilities, like things that you need to live on, like your food. Um, and then your 30% would be want items. So that's kind of again things that you don't necessarily need to live on, but things that maybe are important in your life, whatever, you know what it is, like eating out, stuff like that. And then the 20%. The problem with this, and I've seen this too often working with dozens of people with their personal finances, is the 20%, the financial goals. People just sort of overlook that and uh, they take it for granted. They don't prioritize the 20. And the problem with that is, again, we're not pulling ahead our future when we do that. So, how I like to really think about it is the 50 is critical. I mean, obviously, like you need that stuff in our, We need electricity, we need the roof over our head, and then do the 20. So I think that's going to be a tough shift for a lot of people, but think about it. Like how much of your income are you putting towards financial goals every month on average? I realize it might change a little bit, but 20% is a great benchmark, okay? If you start putting 20% of your income towards a financial goal like paying down debt, for example, you're going to be paying that thing off real fast because 20% is very aggressive. I don't have numbers behind this, but I can imagine that you would be um considered an elite person with, personal finances if you're doing 20%. I can't imagine the percentage of people that are doing that are is tremendously high. I mean, there are stats that, something like 50% of people can't make $1,000, emergency expense. If it were to came up, they wouldn't be able to pay for it with cash or in their accounts or anything like that. So I can't imagine people are um, doing the 20. So that's how my wife and I used to think about it, and we still do. It's like, okay, here's what we need to focus on. So right now it's like, yeah, roof over our head, utilities. We have 2 kids, so the daycare, that's obviously like a need item for us right now. But then it's the financial goals. We're literally budgeting the financial goals. You saw that in the calendar that I have. Like we're auto right now, it's auto investing and it's auto putting towards our kids' financial future, our retirement financial future. Um, so if you start budgeting for the financial goals, that's when things get interesting because now you're like, okay, I need to put, we'll just say, I don't know, we'll say $500 a month towards our financial goals, whatever they are. Now, if you're budgeting correctly, you have your need items, you have your financial goals, and then the rest of it goes to the stuff that makes you happy. So it's like, okay, the Netflix subscription, okay, the Uber Eats, right? All this other stuff. And it gets very interesting, like what if you start prioritizing the right thing, how your life shifts. And like again, you just feel like you're pulling your future forward. It starts as like a little string, and then you got this huge rope, like you're in a tug of war contest. It's pretty impressive and pretty incredible how it happens. And if you feel like you don't make enough for this one to work, um, I challenge you I challenge you on that because I think there's ways around that. First, I think people think that the best way to make more money is just by increasing their income, but it actually just could be realigning your expenses, and that's actually a strategy that I dive really deep into in Dollar Discipline University. Okay, because budgeting is all about intentionality. It's about a budget doesn't show us what we can't do with our money. It shows us what we can do with our money. And I think a lot of people mistake in that point. They think budget is like this swear word or this like you can't say budget because it feels too restrictive to them, or they think they're gonna have to cut their light, cut their lifestyle. And that's not necessarily the case. You just have to find the goals that are most important to you. Like what goal would you create that's way more important than any like stuff in your life? And if you think about it like that, then all your money making decisions are going to be aligned to this North Star goal of yours. Again, let's just say it's paying down debt. And if a thing in your life doesn't help reach that goal faster or help provide that, then the answer is no, probably, right? So if you have like ooh, should I do this or that? You have to decide which one of those, helps your goal progress further. That's just kind of how you have to do it. Because budgeting, again, just budgeting is intentionality. And I think I'm just going to say this in every video that I make, every of all time, because if more people knew that, I think more people would be more, they'd be focused on their finances. Budgeting is not a bad thing. It's just showing us where your money is at, because too many people are just comparing, like you're comparing yourself to other people that maybe make more money or maybe you think have a better financial situation, but it's not about how much money you make. It's not. Okay, because I've worked with people that make 40, 50, $60,000 a year, and they're like crushing their financial goals. And then there's people that make over $100,000 that have like tens of thousands of dollars in debt, over $100,000 debt, and that's not even including like a mortgage. Okay, so it's not about the income; it's about the habit. Okay, so I really think that 50-30-20 rule is great, but let's call it the 50-20-30. Okay. The fourth, I guess my fourth least favorite, so my second favorite budgeting strategy, it's called pay yourself first. Now that sounds pretty obvious, right? You basically paying yourself first. It's kind of what we talked about in the last one, where it's like we're pulling our financial goals closer to us by putting money towards our financial goals. But I want to take this one a different angle because I think the reason why you're not progressing the way you want to be in your personal finances is you're just not spending enough time or effort or money thinking about your goals. And your spending is too it's too like reactive. It's not proactive. Like you're not thinking ahead. We are okay, let me know if this sort of sinks in with you, if you feel like this is you, because I feel like how it works with most people is you go through the month and you're just mundane going through life, paying for stuff, whatever, and you get to the end of the month, you're like, oh crap, I didn't, insert financial goal. I didn't pay off my debt. I wasn't able to contribute, for my retirement. I wasn't able to put money towards my emergency fund. And then you're like, okay, next month. And then the next month comes, you go through, yeah, every week, you go through the process, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh crap, I didn't do, insert financial goal. And it's just like you're because you're not putting any thought to it. And there's two things that I like to do with this. If you say something is very important, um, and you say you're putting enough time and money to it, you actually have to track it and you have to be honest with yourself. So if you do like a quick little time audit during the week, like in like 30-minute intervals, you'll see where you're putting your time. And if you say this thing like paying down debt is really important, but you're not spending any time to think about it, then it's actually not that important to you. So when my wife and I were paying off $43,000 of debt in 13 months, we literally had a family meeting in our living room on our couch, uh, looking at the laptop, looking at this terrible spreadsheet that we made. By the way, the one that I have inside of Dollar Discipline University is way, way better than the rinky dinky one that we were using back then. But even just that, we'll call it a 10-minute meeting, was critical. Okay. Now, we didn't need to spend hours and hours and hours every month thinking about and talking about our debt. So I'm not saying you have to do that. But what that did was it it made sure that we were both aligned with where our money from our bank account was going for that month. So that way, one of us didn't make like a mistake paying off one of our debts when we shouldn't have, it was just, we were just trying to prioritize which debt was most important to us. So that 10-minute meeting was critical. So you have to be at least spending time either to learn about the new thing or to organize the new thing or to like track the thing, right? So you have to spend time like that. And then the other one is the money, and that's where the magic B word comes in, budget, right? It's just being intentional with our finances. So if you're saying that paying down your debt or saving for an emergency fund is super important for you, and then you look at where your money's going and like barely any money, like any percentage of money is going to it, um, then it's not that important to you. So until it is, then you won't make a change. So I hope that resonated with you because I think that process is very common for a lot of people, where it's like go through life week after week after week. Crap, didn't do the thing. Okay, so we want to start pulling. I want you to think of this visual where you're pulling on the string on the rope, pulling your future forward. That's what we're doing with financial goals. Okay. Now you're probably saying like, I don't even know if I have a financial goal, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to show you this little screen share here from a presentation that I share inside of Dollar Discipline University as well. And it's a large presentation. I'm not going to go through it in this video. So I just wanted to show you the top point of this, which is called the SMART framework for financial goals. This presentation was basically on like how I define what a financial goal is, and then how to create one yourself. And it's using the SMART framework. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time. That's how we want to think about creating financial goals. So, specific, we want a goal that's answering the questions of who, what, when, where, why, and then how, sometimes how, right? So, if you can create an example where, like, instead of saying, I want to be debt free, if you said, I want to pay off with my finances and realigning my expenses to prioritize XYZ. I was just trying to come up with that at the top of my head. Which one of those sounds like more, we'll call it specific? Which one was more specific, right? It was obviously the one with way more detail in it, because saying I want to be debt free, it's a great thought, but there's nothing behind it. It's just a thought. And until you sort of can measure it, which is the next one, right? Measurable. Either it happened or it didn't. So like until you can tell yourself whether you're making good progress or not, because if you just say I want to be debt free, it's like, well, there's no time frame there. There's no like way to track. Like how much money do you need to put down every month? You probably have no idea. You're just like kind of saying, I want to be debt free. I don't know how to do it. So we need to be more specific and measurable. Um, Achievable. This one's interesting because achievable meaning within current resources and capabilities. So the example I just kind of threw off at the top of my head was you wanted to pay off $3,000 of credit card debt in 6 months. Okay. So that to a lot of people should be achievable. Like it could be achievable. It's $500 a month. Could be aggressive for some. Okay. But the caveat is the longer the goal. So if you had a goal of 10 years, you wouldn't want it to feel achievable. That's kind of what I'm saying here. And I don't know if that makes sense right now without the context, without this full presentation. But basically, like if you think something's achievable in 10 years, then that means it's too easy. 10 years is a long way away. But if it's something in 6 months, it probably needs to be achievable based on your resources and capabilities. So like basically like how much money, time, effort are you willing to put into it and is it reasonable? Relevant. It has to align with your larger goals. Okay. So any life goals or financial goals. So while paying down debt is amazing, it's not the only thing that you'd want to do in your life, right? We want to pay off our debt so that we can move to a better, more efficient goal down the line, like investing for our future, our retirement, our kids' future, whatever. It's not just like a one and done thing. So it's like, yeah, I want to pay off this 3K credit card debt in 6 months so that I can apply that $500 I'm paying towards my debt to my retirement, because then that $500 is going to be compounding positively for me, whereas me paying off my debt is compounding negatively. And it's just a huge wealth killer debt, right? So if I can go from wealth killer to wealth uh, destroyer, I don't know, wealth improver, then that's great. That's a big win. And then time, we want to create a goal that has some urgency behind it. So, like the 3K credit card debt in 6 months. Okay, how do I figure this out in 6 months? That's intense, right? Maybe you're thinking that. And it's just these five things. So if you think about these, maybe just write these down. Think about the SMART framework if you've never done like a financial goal before. And it's just again, it's just a great way to be more I want to I want to keep saying specific, but I don't want to use one of these words. But you know what I mean, where it's just like you're more intentional with your thoughts. Because again, being debt free is great, but that's just a thought. How do we put action behind it, and how do we make it reasonable um, in our current life, in our current situation? Because basically, here's another presentation. I just wanted to show you this one slide because basically the world is making it a lot harder for people, and people aren't helping themselves either. So I wanted to show you these two things. I think it's going to really help. This first graph here up top, yeah, you can see that. Okay, is the personal savings rate just in the United States. So it's basically the percentage, which is over here, of disposable income that the average person saves. And by saving, we'll call that towards a financial goal. Okay. Excuse me. Daycare germs. So as you can see, this was it's from 2000 to current day, so the end of 2024, so the last 24 years. And as we go through history here, it's sort of hovering around this 5%. Yeah, it dips down a little bit. Yeah, it dips up a little bit, but it's basically 5%. This is the pandemic period. So this is kind of a, off the charts thing. But basically for like 20 years, it just hovers around 5%, right? And now if we look at this chart down here, this is personal consumption expenditures. Basically what this means is how much stuff are we buying? Okay? This over here is in it's dumb. It's in tens of thousands of billions of dollars. So $10,000 billion is $10 trillion. So basically this is in like trillion dollars. 6, 8, 10, 12 trillion dollars. And over the same time horizon, so from 2000 to the end of 2024, sorry. Basically the buying more stuff consistently over time. And it's just going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And again, we had the pandemic here, but it's just always going up. And sorry guys. And the savings rate is, again, it's basically, we'll call it 5% for the last 2.5 decades. But this, it starts at 6 trillion and we're at 20 trillion. So it like 3 plus x like the amount of stuff. Now, why is that? We talked about that a little earlier. It's getting way easier to buy things. It's way more convenient. There's less friction, right? All our cards are saved everywhere. There's way more options now. Like, um, I can remember when I was a kid, and because I'm thinking about like with my kids, all the options that we have to buy stuff. Like our parents were like, yeah, there was like one or two, car seats. There was one or two strollers, but now there's like a bajillion of all of those things. So it's just like there's more options and there's more competition, and it's making it better for consumers to buy the thing that they want to buy, but it's also making it more expensive. And also, um, yeah, stuff just goes up in price too. So there's that to think about. So I say all that because everything's sort of working against you, and it might feel like that, but you have to take control of it, because we are in control of the savings rate, and we all are also in control of the how much stuff we're buying rate, right? So we keep buying more stuff and stuff keeps going up in price, but we're not saving any more money. And it's just something that we need to fix. Okay. All right. So number 5 on the list, and this is my favorite budgeting strategy after I have some water. And it's called the zero-based budgeting strategy. Okay. Now this one's pretty popular. So if you've never heard of it, that's okay. We're going to talk about it right now. Basically, um, every dollar that comes in, so basically how much money you make every month, we already have a spot in our budget, in our finances, where we know that money's going to go. So basically what that means is if you make $4,000 in a month, we need to budget $4,000 to be spent that month. Now that does not mean that, um, if you have $1,000 left over, we go crazy on Amazon. It's the same thing of like the 50-30-20, the 50-20-30, right? We want to budget all the things that are most important to us. And it should be a financial goal or multiple financial goals that are part of that list of what is most important to you. So I'm going to go into the budget template here. Yeah, cool. So this is the budget template, and down in the description, you can actually download this for yourself. It's also in Dollar Discipline University, but you could just download this without joining the group if you don't want. This is completely free as well, um, and there's a full tutorial in there. So I'm not going to spend time to go through the nitty gritty of this file. But basically, so okay, so I already have an example of here in here. So our expected income, as an example, is $4,400 this month. So that means our total budget is $4,400. Okay. Because we can't spend more. We can. And that's the problem that we have with debt and all this other stuff. But we should not spend more than we bring in, right? Each month. So I'm in December. If I was making $4,400 in December, I wouldn't want to spend more than $4,400 in December, if that makes sense. So basically, what this is doing is it's going to add up. This section here, we have our fixed expenses. So I just have a couple random things here. So like your mortgage or rent, your cell phone, internet, cable streaming services, childcare, car insurance. Okay, variable expenses. So think things like groceries, gas, your utilities. Maybe your gym membership fluctuates month over month depending on how many classes you do, etc. Dining out, financial goals. So I've sort of split up financial goals. I have this is basically all non-debt stuff, and then this is all just paying off your debt. So this is all the debt stuff. So basically, if you come into a month, you're like, "Yep, I'm going to make $4,400." I should already know what my fixed expenses are because those don't change every month. Those stay fixed. That's why they're called fixed. So we know how much we're budgeting for that. Um, the variable expenses, okay, that's harder to figure out. I'm not going to go through it in this file, but there's this process called the 3-month look back. I would watch the tutorial. I go way deeper on how to, if you've never done this before, how to go back 3 months to your variable expenses, get an average, and then we get a new budgeted amount, which carries forward into this budget. Okay. And then any other financial goals that we have, um, maybe we'd want to budget for, say, an emergency fund. We budget $100 a month, and then we have all this credit card stuff, right? These are our budgeted amounts for our credit card. So you see what I'm doing here is I'm not just budgeting for like, hey, the stuff that's coming up in the month, our fixed expenses, our variable expenses. Like, no, we need to budget for financial goals. And then I really like the idea of prioritizing paying down your debt first as a primary financial goal, because again, it's such a wealth killer, guys. Like, um, everyone talks about how compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, but when it's working against you, it's your biggest nightmare. Okay, because it's the greatest. It's the eighth wonder of the world for the people that are receiving your interest payments every month because they're getting rich off of it, and you're getting poor for not, paying down your debt faster. So again, if you're interested in how to do that faster, Dollar Discipline University. But the whole point of zero-based budgeting, if I can get back to the main point, is $4,400 in, $4,400 out. But the out is not just useless garbage. Okay, it's financial goals. We want to pull that little thread closer and closer. We want to get it to be a big rope that we can pull. Um, so the only way to do that is to fund financial goals. So um, the smart financial goals. So what I mentioned in the last one, what I would do, like a takeaway of this video. One, let me know if any one of those strategies sort of hits home with you, if you've ever done any of those, or if there's one that really interests you and like, oh, I could maybe do that one. But two, I think what I would do, what I would recommend you do, a little homework, is what are the most important things in your life that you want to either accomplish or have happen, even if it sounds crazy. Okay. And this is like a financial goal. Um, this is a life goal. So, like for me, for example, I'll give you some to sort of maybe help you. So, like a life goal, I'm married, I have 2 kids. So, being healthy is just really important to me. Sleep isn't as sleep hasn't been happening that well recently. So, I try to be very intentional about when I go to bed, even if I feel like I have too many things going on. I still have like, it's almost like an alarm is set to go to bed. And I have one to wake up, but it's almost like, okay, when 10 o'clock hits, I just have to go to bed because I wake up at 4:45 because that's when I work out. I work out in the 5 o'clock hour. Um, and that's because that's when my family's sleeping. And I just feel like that's the easiest time. We have 2 kids, a 3-year-old and an 8-month old. And if they're awake, it's just like impossible for my wife and I to do stuff. So if I can get my stuff out of the way before anyone wakes up, then that's the most ideal thing. So health and fitness, I would put on that list for me as like one of the most important things. Okay. Um, Two right now for us is, um, putting money towards their future education. So that would be on the list as well. And yeah, I guess like those two things are important. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head that is also very important. Like, we'd love to be like a really long term goal is we'd love to be able to pay our mortgage down faster than, the amount of time it's actually going to take. So um, that would be again like another thought where you're just saying like, you don't want to just say, "Hey, I'd love to pay down my mortgage faster." It's like, well, that's a great thought, but what are we going to do about it? What intention are we going to take? So you have to think like, I've been playing around with a lot of like mortgage payment calculators to see like how much extra money I would take to, have it pay down much faster. So it's sort of a game of like, what do we think we could do like every month or every year to apply to our mortgage? And could we pay it off in 10 years? Like that actually sounds pretty challenging, based on how much is left and like how much extra funds we have every month. Cause again, like right now, daycare is tough, very expensive. So, um, anyway, so that's just kind of how I like to think about it. I would write down a couple financial goals, life goals, um, and start there. Like that, make them so good that they're too good to ignore. That's what I'll say. So if you have like junky financial goals, you're not going to care in 2 months, in 4 months. Like you have to make it really worth it. Like your why has to be very important. Because if you say like, "Oh, I just want to like pay off my debt faster," that's great. Again, it's not a thought, but it's a thought, but it's not a great goal. But if you say, "I want to pay down my debt faster because like I'm way behind on my retirement," so if you create this like urgency, like, "Wow, I gotta pay this debt off so I could be even more efficient to my retirement," and apply more money there. That way, again, we want compounding on our side, right? We don't want it against us. So debt compounding is against us, and everything else, compounding is with us. And compounding, I've learned, is just it's more than just money. It's skills. Like if you're learning new skills, like the more you do a skill, it's just compounding. So it starts off you're struggling, and then you're going up, and then it just becomes really easy. Same with um like time that you spend with things or your effort, everything compounds. So you want compounding to be as positive as you can. And it just it's so important. And I wish I knew this, earlier in my life. I'm 35 years old now. I wish I knew it, you know, I wish I had a better I wish I knew what I know now in my early 20s, my mid 20s. Because I didn't start budgeting until I was, it's 10 years ago, like 25. And I went to college for accounting. I didn't really get um, a real accounting job until I was about 25. And there was a few events in my life where it just flipped, and I was like, "What am I doing? I got to figure this out." So that's how this, all these budgeting strategies came into play, and just starting to like really take time to learn about like what not necessarily like what the right thing to do in personal finances, because I think there's a lot of right things to do. There's no one way. Don't let someone tell you that there's one way. um there's actually a lot of ways. It's sort of like I don't know, like going on a hike, climbing a mountain. Like there's more than one way to the top of the mountain, right? People just think like, oh, like you're looking at a mountain, it's like, wow, I got to climb it like this. But it's like, what if you go around back, and then the trail is like it's a little longer, but it's easier? Or like, what if there's a parallel path that you're on your left side or your right side, and like that takes you up another path? Like there's so many paths. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed with like thinking that you're doing something wrong or you don't know what you're doing, because there's so many paths that you can take with all this financial goal stuff. And I think that's just really going to wrap it up. Okay. So one last time, um, I want people to win inside of Discipline University. Again, it's never been a better time to join. Like quite honestly, like there's 8 people in here, and I'm talking to these 8 people, and you're going to have my full attention. Like the whole point of this, it's again, a free group, free community, free course. And there's engagement in here. It's a lot of me, but there's engagement, on the back end. And I really just want to help people win. There's a classroom here with different modules, and someone could join this community, just watch these videos and learn how to pay off their debt twice as fast. But with only 8 people in here, like, you're going to get the personal touch from me, because right now, until I get super busy with this, like, I just want to help people. So whether that's jumping on, free calls with you, reviewing your budget, like, you could send it over to me, anything that you want to do, I'm down for. I just really want to get people wins, because I think if we just all chip away at these, like, terrible stats about um around people in debt, not just in the United States. Like, I talked a lot about the United States, but, like, it's a worldwide problem, and just money management in general, because not a lot of people learn this. Unfortunately, it's not really taught in schools, and people are almost reliant on what their parents know. And a lot of times, like, if you just keep passing down, you know, bad traits, like, you have to unlearn your money habits. And that can be kind of scary, or it can be just kind of, you can be kind of nervous, like, because money is just very, it's so personal, right? It's like, people don't talk about it. So that's kind of why I want this community to kind of keep gaining traction. Like, I want it to become normal for people to talk about their money and their goals, and, like, have people just be supportive. So that's what I'm trying to create here. If you're interested, school.com/debt, down in the description. I'm going live every single Thursday, no matter how I sound or how I feel. Uh, Thursday nights, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, approximately, depending on when the kids go down. It should be 7:30. And what I'd love to hear is, down in the uh, comments of this video, topics, what topics do you want me to talk about, guys? Because right now I'm making videos that I think you would want to know about, or should want to know about, but I'm just kind of guessing, and not, you know, guessing like I don't know what I'm talking about, but you know what I mean. Like, I want to hear from you. Like, once I hear from you, it'll be easier. Right now, I'm just making videos off of feedback I've been getting from people that I'm been working with their personal finances, and things that I think would help them. But I want to hear from you. So have a great night, guys. Um, Enjoy your weekend. Hope you had a great holiday. Happy New Year if you're watching this in the next couple of days. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a good one.